Episode of the Everblack Podcast is brought to you by Death Wish Hot Rods and Customs. Check out their Instagram for all their new t-shirts, caps, beanies, cups, and the all-new Atomic Death lineup.
Under the Southern Stars rolls into Australia to rock you this March. Cheap Trick, Stone Temple Pilots, Bush, and just announced Black Rebel Motorcycle Club. Plus Rose Tattoo, Electric Mary, and more. Don't miss Under the Southern Stars. Get tickets now at underthesouthernstars.com.au.
Hey! How you going, mate?
I'm doing good. Where are you zooming from today?
I'm on the Gold Coast. Sunny, hot.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's not bad, dude. We pretty lucky to be here, I tell you.
Yeah. Now you getting out there and swimming and surfing and having a blast, or?
Nah, working.
Okay.
But hey, I bet you're looking forward to coming down and doing all those things, aren't you?
Oh, I mean, we've done 1 month of touring in the last 2 years, and that was around the States. So yeah, I've been done a little traveling, but I'm really looking forward to getting out there and seeing how beautiful your country is again, and seeing the Gold Coast and down south, and it's going to be great. The whole
Did you come to the Gold Coast last time you were here? I know you did Brisbane.
No, we did Brisbane, yeah.
Yeah.
So now at least we're doing 3 shows in that area. So and it's going to be good. I'm just looking forward to it. I love doing outdoor shows. There's an intimacy that you get when you do an inside show, and and especially with the lights and all that. But there's just the energy of just a beautiful outdoor venue when the weather's right and everyone's just excited and everyone's just partying all day and having a great day. It's really great being a musician and being able to be a part of all that and just spreading the love.
Oh man, I tell you what. When I saw that of course, we're talking about the Under the Southern Stars tour, which is massive.
Yes.
I mean, for us, this is like the first real big international tour. So many people are excited. I'm pumped, man. And you're playing my hometown, so it's like kind of really special.
It's great, and you get to see Bush and Cheap Trick. Electric Mary, Rose Tattoo. There's going to be some good bands on there.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. And of course, Stone Temple Pilots, one of my favorite bands.
Yeah.
Ever.
Who are they?
Yeah. Who are those guys? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, seriously, I'm very, very, very excited. So, and you mentioned those other bands you're going to be touring with. Are you mates with those guys?
With Bush and Cheap Trick. Yeah. We've done, last couple of years, we went to South America with Bush and we did some stuff in the States. And with Cheap Trick on our Tiny Music tour, back in the late 90s, we had them out for 3 or 4 weeks. It was great. I went out there and watched every single night of them playing because I was such a fan of them when I was younger, about when I was in middle school and playing drums and learning to play that, like some Aerosmith and a lot of AC/DC and Cheap Trick, man. That was it. And then 2 years later, be on tour with them and hanging out with them. It's just, it's awesome.
It's pretty cool. I've never seen Cheap Trick, so I'm super excited to be seeing them finally.
Fantastic, man. Those guys don't age. They just keep getting better and better.
Oh, I know. It's crazy. And it's going to be such a great tour, man. As I said, before the pandemic, it was, obviously it's got pushed back a little bit, but here we are finally, and we're less than a month away. I
know. Because this is the third time it's been tried. So the first time was just right when everything shut down. And I was texting friends out there, out in Perth, like, okay, we'll be out in 6 weeks. Oh man, we're going to go here and going to take you surfing and fishing. And then, I don't know if I'm going to be coming.
Oh man. It would have been hard. It would have been really hard for you guys, because it's what you do and what you live for, hey?
And I've heard the horror stories of, people traveling all, for us, it's a long ways to get there. And some bands that got out there and okay, then going home. And that would just be heartbreaking to make it all the way there and not be able to perform for the audiences.
Well, I had mates go over your way, and they literally played one show, and at the end of the show, they were like, you got to go home, man. They're like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Things are,
And
things are closing down. Oh.
yeah. But man, I'm glad that we're at this point. Hey, and I'm so glad that I'm going to be seeing Stone Temple Pilots again. You know, as I said, one of my favorite bands.
Yeah, man, it's great. It's gonna happen. And you know, over here in the States, things are opening up, and you know, a lot of mandates are coming down. So it's just gatherings are just going to be more and more fun and a little less stressful. And you know, that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, man, it feels more. Now I'm talking to you about it, like it feels so much more real. You know, it's I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's like, oh, it's actually happening.
Yeah.
We're gonna see bands again. It's awesome, and I'm so keen to see with you with Jeff, man. I saw you with Scott years ago, but
okay, yeah,
this is going to be the first time, obviously, with Jeff, and he's such an incredible vocalist, man. Like I used to follow him with Dry Cell back in the day.
Okay, yeah,
and man, he's not the new guy anymore. He's definitely, you know, solidified himself in Stone Temple Pilots.
Yeah, and his voice is a mile wide, man. When you hear him, you know, some of these outdoor venues, or of course at the rugby stadiums and such, you're just going to hear him, man. You're like, no matter how far back you go, you're just going to hear his voice strong and just present. And it's really wonderful to, you know, because we were in-ear monitors when we're up there, and there's, you know, certain notes that I know is hard for him to hit every night.
Yeah,
like, man, he just keeps hitting them stronger and stronger and stronger. So he's got this weird thing where the more he tours, the stronger his voice gets, you know, whereas a drummer, if you play too many shows in a row, man, you're just like, woo, do I need a break?
Oh man. And you know, I think for STP, you know, there has to be those special combination of like charisma, vocal ability, and stage presence, all those things that Scott and Chester had. But
yeah,
you know, Jeff has definitely got that X factor as well. What do you think, aside from that, is important for this band to have in a vocalist and a front man?
You know, it's funny because even when we did the auditions a while back, it was kind of like you can't have any preconceptions of what they just have to walk in and have the magic to be able to, because a lot of people can mimic what Scott was doing, but that's not what we need long term.
Yeah.
And then with Jeff, not only could he sing, I think he sang 4 songs the first day and just blew us away. We're like, okay, great. So then we had him come back, and we just started writing with him, just throwing out stuff and seeing how that went. And then he was the only person who could always have a melody, no matter what we come up with. Because every time we do a sound check, there's a small part of a song that gets written because somebody starts doing something, and it's like, oh, we all jump in on it, like, oh, wow, okay, it takes a minute, and like, that sounds really good. And he'll always, like, even at sound check, he'll just be pop, you know, start just coming in with vowels or whatever. It's like, all right, we're onto something here. Not a lot of people can do that as far as vocalists, where they actually have an instrument in their voice. Like, you know, not only are they singers, but like they just have to be able to come up and improvise. And he's always been great with that.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. And Core turns 30 this year.
Holy crap, right? What were you doing 30 years ago?
I was in school, but I tell you what, man, like I've been a fan for probably that long. I had Core on cassette. I think I bought this album more times than any other album. Got a long history with it. Had it on cassette, then got it on CD, and then I got a scratch right where Sex Type Thing is, and it just come, and I was like devastated. Yeah. So I had to buy it again. Yeah. And now I'm looking for it on vinyl. So
yeah, the vinyl's really cool. What was really great was getting together when we put together the deluxe set for Core. It was really a trip because we got to go over the multi-tracks and pull up those, and just it was 30 years ago, so there's a lot of stuff you remember, but a lot of some of the details that just, it was 30 years ago, but then to pull up the multi-tracks and to hear us talking in between the takes and to hear the bleed from the different instruments. Cause we were just live in the room at that time.
Man.
It was just, it's so much fun. And it was a real trip to go back in time and to hear that. And some of the demo recordings we did at the rehearsal studio before we made the album, where we're getting together to write it, that was a great trip down memory lane, because you'd hear some of the versions and they were really close, but you could tell like, oh, they weren't 100% yet. And once we got in the studio, everything got fine tuned. So, 30 years, it doesn't feel like it because it's gone by so fast, but yeah.
Here we are, dude. And it's, is that vinyl out yet? Has that been released yet?
Yeah, it has. It's we have a deluxe edition, and then we have some simple versions of it too. The deluxe edition will have a couple live shows, like Reading, that we did for like our first time in England, and then it's got some of the demo stuff that I'm talking about as well. So it's kind of got everything in there.
Do you want to take? Just give me your bank details. I'll pay you now. Just take all my money. Take it all.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, man, like it's that album, especially that the first two, especially, I think have a real certain darkness to them. They're really heavy, dark album. I think that's what drew me to them. Like sort of, I wouldn't say metal, but there's those riffs that are real chunky, and your drumming on it is just incredible.
It's just kind of, it was so live, The first record core we recorded at Rumbo Recorders, which was Captain and Tennille. It was they bought the studio and they had some great stuff there, and a lot of cool bands were going through there. And then the second album, Purple, we did out in Atlanta at the studio there where Brendan O'Brien always liked to work at. So that one was the second album, Purple. We recorded it and mixed it in 3.5 weeks. I mean, it was just, every song was like first take, second take, done, put a few overdubs on it. Scott would come in and sing, and just like, oh my God, you're already mixing, 2 songs a day. And man, I'm having fun. Can we do another month? Yeah, this is great.
This is one of my prized possessions, brother. Purple on Purple. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I love it. I love it so much. But there was just something about that time period. And I think that's what drew me to the band, because you wrote the lyrics to Plush, right? Or co-wrote?
Yeah, Scott and I. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's, man, it's a very, very dark song, but it seemed that over that time, like after Core and then Purple, things started to maybe lighten up a little bit in tone musically a little bit. What do you put that down to? Do you think it's just influences or the time period?
For us, it was kind of what we're going through. I mean, the first album we had, on the first album on Core, we probably had 4 or 5 of those songs together when we got signed to Atlantic Records. And then we had the greatest opportunity ever, is to quit our jobs, jump into a rehearsal place in North Hollywood, and just a month. And we were just 12 hours a day, just jamming and coming up with new ideas and trying to put together where we're going to go with it. So by the time we got to the third album, I think what you're talking about, Tiny Music, we knew we wanted to get a little more kind of like what Cheap Trick was doing, you know what I mean, with kind of the heavy rock, but with a little bit of glam thrown in, you know what I mean, a little bit of pomp. And it was like, yeah, man, because we were all influenced by so many great bands, from Sabbath and Zeppelin, of course, to like Cheap Trick and Aerosmith, and even for a lot of our acoustic stuff, it could be from Gordon Lightfoot to John Denver on the lighter stuff, because we all were products of AM radio when we were little kids, and AM radio had a lot of singer-songwriter stuff with the pop music that was out. So it was just all in there, and anytime someone comes up with a hint of an idea, we can all just jump on it, because we all have the same kind of reservoir of tonality to delve into and pull out.
So I always saw you guys as more than I guess, what that time period labeled a lot of bands. You know, the grunge thing. Like, I never really saw you Soundgarden, Alice in Chains. There's a few bands that I felt that were outside of that label, even though, you know what I'm trying to say. Was that frustrating at the time that you kind of?
It was frustrating. It was only frustrating that journalists couldn't see, like, oh my God, these guys are all the same age. Therefore, they all were 10 years prior to that. They're all in somebody's garage figuring out Aerosmith and Zeppelin and Sabbath and, you know, probably some were a little more prog like Rush and King Crimson like us, and some were, you know, a little more on the metal side, you know, that was going on. But the core 75%, we all grew up at the same time, the same thing in mind, like, oh, this is what rock and roll is supposed to be. And then the differences was just the individual members and how they transferred out. But it was funny that maybe journalists weren't the same age as us. They couldn't see it, but it was so obvious. And it's obvious that we kind of came from, the technology was limited to bass, drums, and guitar. You know what I mean? So and singing and lousy PAs and how to put on a show and playing clubs. It wasn't coming from, so much of the modern music is coming from this crazy pop scene where the show and the glamour is way more important, or even like the rap scene or the, you know, the hip hop scene where street credentials are, you know, important to get you in. In our case, it was like we didn't have any of that. We just had whatever clubs would pay us $25, $100 to play a show and try to get a following in there and just try to write the best songs we could. And then once we got to recording, it's like, oh man, those guys can play and they can write great songs too. And we just took it from there.
And I love that you had all those. You mentioned some of that, like Rush, the proggy stuff. I hear some of that in there. Like, oh man, it's the good stuff.
Man, I remember in high school, I had a band. And we didn't have a singer, and we were in high school, right? But we played all the college fraternity parties, which was just great. And we'd only play Rush and Led Zeppelin without a singer.
Oh wow!
But you know, it was, you know, the guys had keg parties and all that, and the girls and such. But they were just all, you know, especially the Zeppelin stuff. They'd all be singing it anyways. But the Rush stuff was really great because playing that stuff live is really challenging, especially when you're in high school. But the reward you get, the cool factor you get from the older college kids are just like, we're not going to beat you up. You're cool.
Oh man, rest in peace, Neil A.
Oh, wasn't he great?
Oh man,
I mean, just that fucking guy, man. I mean, they do a 3-hour set, and he 2 hours in to do his drum solo. Like, he's just a fucking animal. He was incredible.
Oh man, I wish I never saw him. It bums me out, but you know, oh well, I've got him on DVD at least. But hey man, you know, I wanted to say that, you know, as well, talking about, you know, Tiny Music, you also wrote the music for Tripping on a Hole in a Paper Heart, didn't you?
Yeah.
Man, that song is incredibly special to me.
Oh, really? Cool.
Man, I will say, like, you probably hear this stuff all the time, but I mean, there's been many times in my life where I've been at my lowest and I've gotten in my car and I've put in that song on and I've turned it up so fucking loud and it's just helped me
get you out, right?
Yeah, man. Yeah. Like, and everyone's got that song, you know, everyone's got those songs. And I guess you hear that a lot. Is that one that comes up a lot for you?
Sometimes a lot of people, you know, it could be Plush or it could be Still Remains was always a really big song for people. I mean, and lyrically, what Scott did on that song could be one of my all-time favorites. I mean, and not just SDP, like just all times, just his lyrics on that. And especially because I knew his wife at the time and I was there when they met. So I kind of knew really from the inside what he was getting at. But I know Tripping on a Hole is just a good, funky, fast, hard rocking song. I mean, I'm just such a fan of, you know, Tower of Power and Dave Garibaldi's drumming. So it's like, I just wanted to take something from, you know, something from there and just make it more percussive. And, you know, it's still a fun one to play every night. It's just, it's always on the set list. And And what Dean did with that guitar solo in the middle of that thing is just fantastic because he just burns it right in the middle. It's just like, oh yeah, here we go. Oh yeah.
Goosebumps, dude. It's one of those songs, it gives me goosebumps. Like so many years later, whenever I listen to it, man, it's like, even thinking about it, I get all like, it's a good tune. It's a good vibe, man.
Good. Well, I'm sure you're going to hear it in a month, man. We're going to bust it out for you.
Oh, you'll probably hear me right way at the back, like badly screaming it. But your most recent album, is it Perdita?
Perdita, yeah.
Perdita, I got it right. That came out in 2020, and it's such a great acoustic album, man. Like, it's really special. But are you guys looking at getting back to the heavier stuff on further releases?
Yeah, the Perdita album was just, we've all to go back in time, on every STP record, we've always had one or maybe two songs that had that kind of vibe to it, where it was just softer and a kind of acoustic based. And I think it was like, let's just do a whole album like that, have some fun and do something different. And it was an amazing, and it was a cathartic process to record it, because it was a whole different thing. They didn't have the angst that all the other albums have, you know what I mean? And the sweat, it was just really trying to do more with less and trying to make the space be just as important as the notes that you're hearing. And we're just about to tour it when COVID hit. I mean, it was like, here we go. And the next record, who knows? It could be the hardest or the loudest record we've ever done, or it could be a mix of the two. I don't know. Well, I'm sure after we get back from Australia, everyone's going to be itching and saying, all right, let's go make another record again in between the shows we have lining up this year here in the States. So, but no, I mean, that was kind of just a one-time thing to see where we're going. But at the same time, we all really enjoyed a lot of the aspects of it. So maybe you hear more of a blend of it, I mean, I always loved how Led Zeppelin could mix in kind of the mixtures of stuff like that and have mandolins and songs, and right next to Black Dog and other fantastically amazingly good rock songs. It's like, man, it's all possible, and it's all coming from us, and it's all music. So we just try to make it all work.
Absolutely. Well, I can't wait to hear what you guys do next. But I mean, you've got this tour down here in Australia. What else is coming up for SDP for the rest of the year? All
the festivals and all the good stuff. It's all mostly in the States coming up. What we got going on. I mean, there's so much planning to go on with Australia, and especially after this is the third time we're trying to do this. So the rest of the world, I know, like European festivals, there's a couple of those that are opening up that are going to be really interesting. But world tours aren't, and still until everything gets simplified as far as what everybody needs and what crew people needs and how restrictions work. I mean, once that kind of gets eased up all over the world, then you're going to see an influx of all sorts of bands and sporting stuff and everything else coming in.
Bring it on, dude. Bring it on.
Yeah, right.
Right. I bet you're itching to get back out there and start jamming again, man.
Jamming, yeah, but I haven't been to a concert either. It just seems kind of weird to me. It's just like, I mean, keep nudging towards it, and then I'll be like, oh, I can't wait to go see a concert again.
Man, it's going to be the best thing in the world.
Yeah, it is.
Well, Eric, man, it's been really, really awesome hanging out with you today. We can't wait to see you guys down here for the Under the Southern Stars tour. We'll have all the ticket links down here in the show notes.
Oh, great. Awesome.
Man, see you on the Gold Coast, brother. Let's go.
Yeah, all right. See you next month, man.
Take care, brother.
Okay. Yeah,
Thank you.
See ya.
Bye.
Thanks.